Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to part 6 of my series, my special series on the Upper Grand District School Board, racism, and problem solving within that board, a case study. I love that title. It just rolls off the tongue. What is this whole series about? Just in case you're jumping in here to see a specific resolution, this is the resolution of the trustee situation. So a very short synopsis of this whole thing, and this is going to be a shorter video than the other ones. A very short synopsis is I'm trying to problem solve the use of critical race theory within the Upper Grand District School Board to set plans and policies, and that's policy that trickles down to the school level and the classroom, to kids and teachers and principals. And I'm going to show you how in the next video. The next video is going to be how are these policies used, how are these guiding documents used, the equity, and then comparing the two equity plans. So I'm going to tie this up. This is all going to come together. But right now, the quick synopsis is, I heard this in a public meeting, the June 16th public meeting, a presentation to the trustees from the Upper Grand District School Board staff, and we'll listen to this very quickly. And then I followed up, and a board trustee said the following in an email. I'll get there in just a minute. And, well, that's where we are right now. That's the resolution of me trying to problem solve these specific issues. And the resolution is nil. The resolution is nothing. Nothing has happened. Nothing has changed. They've carried on as if I were a fly that they swatted away and they got rid of.
Application that because the systems were all developed by folks who were white, that they are inherently a racist in that. And so where I think people get really confused.
Systems built by folks who are white are inherently racist. Clearly, I think that's clearly a racist statement said by education lead Kalinda Klein. This is in the presentation to the trustees, and this says very clearly in their slide, based on critical race theory guided by the Equity Steering Committee. Okay, so all of that I had a problem with. I sent emails to the appropriate people, and after I sent an email to all of the trustees, this email was sent by Robin Ross, and she's the trustee of Wellington North in the Upper Grand District School Board, and a lot of the email is working to undermine me to her colleagues, talking about how, well, I'll just reread the email and why I'm concerned about it. Here we go. Hi, I know you all got an email from Mark Peralovis. I've had many such meetings, emails from him as a member of SLAC. He is fun to have a long philosophical discussion with, but in my experience, it is one-sided. He has no intention of using the discussion to examine his opinion that he comes to the meeting with. When I have time, I enjoy the challenge of understanding his arguments and studying my own ideas to see how they stand up to the scrutiny. I just wanted you to know that this is not an invitation to take up lightly or without a lot of preparation. I usually spend an hour or two before I reply to his emails, making sure that my points are ordered based on data and that I know enough other facts to defend my points. I find it a lot of fun, but a lot of work. Usually he's far outside the mandate of SLAC, but he has clearly stated to me that he will continue to use it as an opening to send his opinions to others on any topic he wishes, even after other members have asked him to stop including them. I'll pause briefly here. That's a bold-faced lie. She asked me, and I stated that I would respect people who asked me not to email them, and that the emails that I was sending were on topic and about board business. And I never ever said that I would be using board emails to further my own agenda on anything, period. I'm in this 100% because of the curriculum and because I understand how these curriculum documents, because I've been a part of creating them through my career, how these curriculum documents and these steering committees and the equity plans, these, right, 3-year equity plan, and here's the updated one with the undefined language, right? Anti-racism, anti-oppression, undefined, toxic masculinity, undefined. I understand how these things trickle down. It's called BIPSA, and the BIPSA is, well, it's a whole, that's the other video, okay? So carrying on, so that's a bold-faced lie that she told to the other trustees. That is not true. Not true, and I can prove that it's not true. Back to this. As soon as he finds out that addressing all of us gets a response from the chair, I am sure that he will contact everyone individually with a more complex argument than this one. His main premise is that the philosophy of our board equity plan is wrong. He hasn't yet shared what his cultural philosophy is. I agree with our use of the philosophy that the white victors wrote the rules and wrote history, and it is inherently biased because of that. I will continue to defend it privately to him. She has never defended that privately at all to me ever. And I don't know what white victors she's talking about or what battle they won and what history that they wrote. Like, what specifically is she calling out as fake history or as biased history specifically? I would love to understand it. What I've asked her and I've asked the other trustees, is this a normal thing? Is this how you guys talk? Is this something that is part of the vernacular in the Upper Grand District School Board trustees? And nobody's responded to me. Nobody has told me that. So I would love to understand, but I don't at this point in time. Back to the email just to finish it off. Just a friendly heads up as to what you will be getting when you answer him. So to me, that is misrepresenting who I am and what I am, and undermined the email that I sent to the trustees asking for their help to address a serious problem with racism at the Upper Grand District School Board. And the Upper Grand District School Board says they have a responsibility to identify and remove racism as soon as it's identified. And yet, the white victors of what battle? When? What biased history did they write? I don't want my children learning a biased history either. Could you be explicit, Miss Ross? No? And then I find it interesting as well. I've tweeted this out a bunch, and just in case you haven't seen, I said, check out my series about the awful policies created by the leadership in this racist board, the Upper Grand District School Board. And Cheryl Van Utengam says, I have, thank you, best to tell staff to ignore him. I wonder if that's the standard that the management uses, the standard response that management uses if faced with a parent who disagrees and wants a conversation to understand how you can rationalize the use of this theory. I don't understand. And I would love somebody to take the time to try and explain it to me rather than gaslighting me through email. However, that didn't happen. And here we are, 6 episodes in. What a treat. Okay, so this is going to end the chair of the board of trustees. This is dealing specifically with Robin Ross lying about me and the follow-up to that. So yesterday, I sent an email to all of the trustees, hello trustees, and I read through it yesterday. And I was told after that, at this point, I was told to send my concerns to the chair of the board and she would follow up. This is what I sent. So I'm going to read the rest of this. Here we go. Good evening, Martha. Thank you for following up. I can certainly understand kids' needs, particularly these days. I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old home full-time, with both my wife and I working full-time from home. It's a well-oiled machine. Mine are watching a movie at the moment. Fundamentally, my concerns are around Miss Ross and her email to her colleagues about me. I went through it line by line in a long email chain that you're a part of. I've included screenshots of those emails at the bottom of this email. Miss Ross's made-up conversations and claimed situations and conversations that never happened. She undermined my credibility to her colleagues by either completely making things up or embellishing interactions. It's true I'm long-winded at times during the FSLAC meetings, but that hardly counts as a long philosophical conversation. I've never emailed her personally other than for board business, certainly not to pursue a personal conversation. I reached out to the trustees because after reading through the handbook, I thought it was the duty of the trustees to help the public communicate effectively with the board. Every one of the trustees responded that they agreed with the board and the equity plan, but not one person asked me to clarify my concern in order to help me articulate it more effectively. None tried to explain why they supported the equity plan, and none addressed a single one of my concerns. Perhaps I misunderstood the role of the trustee, and that's on me. I'll pause here. When I say every one of the trustees responded that they agreed, what I meant to say, and I just want to be clear, not every one of the trustees did respond. The ones who did respond said that they agreed with the equity plan, and usually wait for the chair of the board to respond because she has to respond after you've emailed all of us. So I want to be clear, not every trustee responded saying that they were in line with the equity plan. Most let the chair of the board speak for them. But the people who did respond said that they were in support of it. Okay, so I wanted to make that clear. I don't want to spread misinformation. However, back to the article, or back to the email that I sent. However, to have a trustee claim what was claimed by Ms. Ross to colleagues about a parent who is reaching out asking for help is beyond abhorrent. I took the time to watch the June 16th meeting in full after reaching out to the FSLAC committee for help in what direction things were going. I took the time to put together well thought out questions that are about racism and intolerance, questions I would very much still like the answer to. I attended the racism meeting on June 24th as I didn't see any other times to hear about the board's equity plan. I did my homework, and for doing that, I was ignored and lied about by a trustee. The board's own equity guidelines state, as an educational community, we have a responsibility to identify and describe racism and other oppression and then work to dismantle it. I identified multiple people in the equity and inclusion team displaying very concerning worldview, and the critical race theory directly states that either something is anti-racist or it's upholding white supremacy and therefore racist. This seems to be targeting one race, which is against Statute 1691 in the Education Act. In the response to the trustees from Ms. Ross, she also states, I agree with our use of the philosophy that the white victors wrote the rules and wrote history, and it is inherently biased because of that. I will continue to defend it privately to him, which in my mind are as troubling as the June 16th meeting. Are we working to dismantle all racism? I digress. I'm not trying to make this about my original point. In asking for help to communicate my concerns from the elected board of trustees, I do not feel I deserve to be lied about and slandered in a reply all email to the group. I do not feel it's appropriate conduct for a trustee. I do not think it's appropriate conduct for a chair to say about a member of her committee, even if it were true, which it most certainly is not. The anti-racism and anti-oppression work page says we will implement ongoing mandatory anti-racism and anti-oppression training for all staff and be fully transparent and accountable to all upper grade students, staff, families, and stakeholders in an ongoing manner. I would like some accountability for the actions of this trustee and FSLAC chair. I'm a first-generation Canadian and son of immigrants. My grandparents spoke a different language when they arrived in Toronto on a boat, and the runaround that I experienced trying to even get people to give me the time of day is appalling. But the conduct of this trustee to undermine me privately to her colleagues while lying about interactions we've had is beyond the pale. Thank you for your serious attention to this. I have attached the relevant email chains for you to read through if you see fit. Thank you for your time. I'm not working to undermine anyone. I'm not working to further any cultural philosophy. I believe strongly that everyone deserves to be treated fairly and equally, no matter what color their skin is. Here's one last thought. Here's a screenshot of the anti-black racism resources. Do you see any bias at all? It's this clear bias that concerns me. Do you know what McDonald's in China did recently to black Africans? And yes, I pilfered from a previous email, but I'd written it all out so many times that I thought I just can't reimagine this again. So I apologize if you've heard me say all of that once before. But that was the initial complaint. How can a trustee take what a parent's written, and what I wrote was genuinely asking for help, and I'm genuinely wanting a resolution, right? And no resolution is forthcoming. That's not going to happen. But that was the point of this in the first place. It wasn't just to rattle some chains or anything. Anyway, the response was, thank you for sharing your concerns, Mark. This is from the chair of the board of trustees. I hear you on the challenges of working from home while parenting. This has been an extraordinary time in history and has been truly inspiring to see how people have risen to the challenge and shown kindness and compassion to their fellow humans. You've included a lot of information in your message, so I want to make sure I give it the proper attention. I will review in detail and get back to you early next week. Take care and enjoy the first week of summer with your family. This was June 26th. Here I described there was a month of emails where the chair of the board had not addressed my concerns. She decided to take vacations and attend family matters rather than seriously considering my concerns. Here's the final email, or here's one of the final emails to me. Here we go. She says, Dear Mark, after further conversation with Trustee Ross and careful review of the additional materials you have sent me, I have made my final decision, which is to uphold the decision that I made in my previous letter to you. Trustee Ross made an error in judgment regarding digital etiquette, but did not contravene any of our policies. As there was no violation of policy and therefore no action to take on my part, I will conclude my involvement in this issue. I sincerely apologize on behalf of the board for the digital etiquette error and assure you that it will not happen again. Thank you for your patience as we worked through this during this unusual time in history. It is greatly appreciated. Martha. I want to point out that here's the same digital etiquette problem that happened again, essentially. Somebody replied to me when they did not realize they were replying to me, and whoops, that doesn't work out so well. Hey, I'll be following up with that shortly, but it's just one of those things that's kind of hilarious, really. Like, you'd think you'd be more careful as the superintendent of a school board, right? You'd think. Anyway, so there was a month of emails. You can see this was June 26th, and here's, I'm in the way, but July 24th before the decision is rendered. And my response to the decision being rendered is this. I'm in the way again. Good morning, Martha. Further follow-up. You stated, I sincerely apologize on behalf of the board for the digital etiquette error and assure you that it will not happen again. And I say this was not my complaint, what my complaint was about. I did not complain because of a digital error. I complained because one of your trustees thought she could lie about a parent to the other trustees in email. Emails are permanent records. Her slanderous defamation of me to other trustees is not legal. If you are bound by the policies of the board, you have not sufficiently looked into the situation. Your apology is not sufficient. I'm bothering myself, so I'll get myself out of the way here. Aside from the fact that she has never articulated anything of the sort to me publicly or privately, this statement concerns me. Oh, sorry, hold on. I was missing the middle part of the email, sorry. I outlined clearly what my complaint was about and expect it addressed directly. If you looked into her lying about me, what is your decision on that? If not, please reread my original complaint. If it is your final ruling, please articulate your apology and decision as if it were addressing my original complaint, the slanderous lies and attempted destruction of my reputation by your trustee. In your response, please also confirm the material you considered when looking at this valid complaint, including board and trustee specific policies. Thank you for your careful attention to this request. On a related but separate issue, I would like to understand the language used in Trustee Ross's email to the other trustees. This was not addressed in my original complaint, but bears exploration because the language is concerning. In the email, she states, quote, I agree with our use of the philosophy that the white victors wrote the rules and wrote history, and it is inherently biased because of that. I will continue to defend it privately to him. Aside from the fact that she has never articulated anything of the sort to me publicly or privately, this statement concerns me. Is this language used casually by board trustees? What is she referring to specifically when she says white victors? Who are these white victors? What group? All white people? What exactly is she talking about here? What issues does she have with history specifically? Is there history that is being pointed to that is invalid? These statements of white victors and biased history are not backed up by history or science that I'm aware of. What is she basing her statement on? Do the trustees agree with Trustee Ross about this statement? Does the board, to your knowledge? Please provide an email address for confirmation if you state the board agrees. I take issue that she lies in this statement by stating that she has previously stated her position about this to me and that she has ever defended it in any way to me publicly or privately. This is a bold-faced lie. We have never had any discussion regarding this ever in any capacity, and her claims to the contrary are inappropriate, unprofessional, and illegal. Looking forward to your response again, and I don't think I need to make this plain, but I will. I do expect a response. She did not respond. And here's the final email that I sent, and I guess this is not as short as I anticipated, so I apologize for being long-winded. However, here we go. Good afternoon, Martha. This is July 29th at 1:39. Here's the Code of Conduct for Trustees. Are you aware of this document? And I link to the Code of Conduct. It states in 2.3 that it is the responsibility of the chair of the board to bring this Code of Conduct to the attention of all trustees at the annual organizational meeting. It asks for the signature and date at the bottom of the document. Did Trustee Ross read and sign this document? Did you complete your duty with regards to this policy and get her to sign it? Are you aware this document demands an agreement to abide by the Code of Conduct within? The document links to policy 213. You can find that here. In the Code of Conduct, which Trustee Ross should be abiding by, it states standard behavior, respect, and civility. It goes through. I've gone through all of this before. I went through all of this in the other video, but I'll quickly reread this right now. All members of the school community will respect and comply with applicable federal and provincial municipal laws, demonstrate honesty and integrity, respect differences in people, their ideas, and their opinions, treat one another with dignity and respect at all times, and especially where there is disagreement, respect and treat others fairly regardless of age, sex, gender, respect the rights of others, show proper care and regard for school property and property of others, take appropriate measures to help those in need, and there's other, hold on. Under safety, 4.2 is all members of the school community will not engage in bullying behaviors, including cyberbullying, and there's more there as well. Inflict or encourage others to inflict bodily harm. Sorry, that doesn't apply here. 4.2.12, engage in hate propaganda and other forms of behavior motivated by bias, prejudice, or hate. And the roles and responsibilities of the board. 5.5, develop effective intervention strategies and to respond to all infractions related to the standards for respect, civility, responsible citizenship, and safety. And I continue in my email. I expect a response based on my original complaint that Trustee Ross knowingly lied about me, a parent in the board, and an FSLAC committee member and former employee of the board. To fellow trustees, contravening my many articles in the Code of Conduct, I will continue to pursue this until I am satisfied that I have been heard by this board and this group of trustees. At this point, I have not been heard. I will be taking this up the chain to the person above you if you continue to ignore my request to have my complaint taken seriously. I will not be going away. This is a very serious issue. Both your seeming lack of ability to investigate my complaint effectively and the fact that Trustee Ross lied about me to fellow trustees via electronic communication. Do you take seriously your agreement to abide by these Code of Conduct? I suppose we'll see. So far, I'm thoroughly unimpressed. Looking forward to your response. Mark. And I never got a response, which is why I reached out to Martha Rogers in the first place. Check out video, The Meat and the Potatoes, or The Meat and Potatoes. And that's why I reached out to her to try and get a resolution, but there is no resolution. None of my concerns were addressed by the people who were supposed to be taking parental concerns seriously. No one explained to me why a board trustee is claiming white victors wrote a biased history, and no one is pushing back on that trustee. No one is concerned that the trustee lied about a parent to other board trustees. Clearly, no one took any of my concerns seriously. The whole board of trustees should be ashamed of themselves. They do not serve the parents or the students of the Upper Grand District School Board. I believe that. So if you don't, and if you have ever had an interaction with the board trustees, well, hey, I would be more than willing to listen to you. But my interaction with the board trustees, aside from a very pleasant demeanor and email etiquette, aside from being CC'd in one that I was maybe supposed to not be CC'd in, right, Robin? They're ineffective, right? They're quite nice to email back and forth, and they'll have quite lovely conversations with you. But the chair of the board felt this racism was so concerning that she took a month to consider the emails that I've put together. Now, I am long-winded, and I've put a lot together, but I don't think a procedural etiquette breach is the only thing that Miss Ross did incorrectly. And, well, hey, maybe I'm wrong. But the fact that they're just ignoring me now and they're not willing to engage with me and they're not willing to even explain their rationale behind what they think is telling that maybe they can't. Maybe they're incapable of doing that. So is that what you want in a board of trustees? Completely incapable of defending their decisions? Completely incapable of holding somebody accountable? Completely incapable of articulating what they mean by white victors and biased history? Am I supposed to understand that somehow? Do you think that's appropriate? Do you think it's appropriate that not one of these board of trustees at the Upper Grand District School Board pushed back against Upper Grand staff saying any system built by a white person is inherently racist because it was built by a white person? I think that collective guilt, community guilt based on your skin color is not appropriate in 2020. And I don't understand how this board can stand by and claim that that's not happening, because it clearly is. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out for the next video, the one that'll tie it all together, the one that shows that these policies, the equity policy, this plan here, this 2022 equity plan, 2019 to 2022 equity plan, with the unbiased or the undefined language, how this fits into your child's school. I'll show you very clearly, and why I'm concerned about it. Maybe I should have done this video earlier, but I wanted to get all the communication out first, because it's just kind of, it's so big. It's so big. It takes a long time. So here we are. We're at the end of the communication part. So next we'll go into and this is procedural. It's really dry. So I hope that people are interested, but I'm going to do it anyway, regardless. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and check out CanadaPoly.com, check out CanadaReport.co, and there'll be one more video probably tomorrow at this point, but I'm not sure. It's not quite fully formed. I've got most of it, but I've got to plan it a little bit more. So tomorrow-ish. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful